Hello everyone. Today I'll begin with unit 2nd of the essay Bores by E.V. Lucas. Bores are happy largely because they have so much to tell and come so well out of it, but chiefly because they can find people to tell it to. Here Lucas is trying to state that bores are happy people. Why they are happy? Mainly because they have so many things to share, and it is so easy and so natural for them to come out with whatever they have in their storehouse to share with other people. But the major reason is that they can find people to tell it to. It means that whatever things they have with them which they want to share with people, they are lucky enough to have easily get listeners who can patiently give them time to listen to all their boring talks. So this is the main reason, not only because they have so many things to share, but also because they always successfully get somebody with whom they can share their talks. The tragedy is they can always find their listeners, me almost first. So he says that the tragic point is that it is always so easy for the bores to find a listener. And Lucas has often been a victim of bores. And why can they? So here he is posing a question. He says that why is it possible for the bores to find a listener every time? Second question is, why can even notorious bores always be sure of an audience? How can it be possible that even the notorious bores are always successful in finding a listener or an audience? Now he is giving the answer to these questions. He says, the answer is the ineradicable kindness of human nature. Okay, so he says that the prime reason behind this is that why the bores are so successful in getting a listener or an audience. The major reason is the basic instinct of kindness which we find in human nature. So it is the kindness of human nature, of the human beings, which enables the bores to find a listener, a patient listener or an audience with whom they can share their boring talks. Few men are strong enough to say, "For heaven's sake, go away, you weary me." Lucas says that only a few men have the strength to be quite frank and straight away say to the bores that please, for God's sake, go away, you are boring me or you are making me feel tiresome. So it is better that you go away from here and stop sharing your boring talks with me. Only a few people have this courage to say it on the face of bores. Bores make cowards of us all, and we are left either to listen and endure or to take refuge in craven flight. So he says that what ultimately happens with us, we are made cowards. Okay, bores make cowards of us all. Why? Because we are left with no other option but to either listen to them, endure with their talks, or to take refuge in craven flight, or we can seek for some stupid reasons so that we can excuse them and run away from their capture. We see them in the distance and turn down side streets or hasten from the room. So what happens? Whenever we see a bore approaching us, we try to run away from that spot. One man I know has a compact with a page boy, whose duty it is, whenever my friend is attacked by a certain bore in the club, to hasten up and say he is wanted on the telephone. Now, on a humorous note, he says that he knows a particular person who has a kind of contract with a boy, and the contract is that whenever this man is overpowered by a boar, then what he has to do, that page boy, he will interrupt and he will say that there is a call for you and you are required to attend that call. So in this manner, he is able, his friend is able to rescue himself from the clutches of a boar. An ingenious device, but it must not be worked too often, because my friend, though he can stoop to deceit and subterfuge, would not for anything let the boar think that he was avoiding him, would not bring grief to that complacent, candid face. He says that it is a good device that we can hire a person who can every time come up and say that you have a phone call to receive, and we can easily run away from a bored person. But we should not be quite experimental with this thing, because although it is a good device, but overworking with this device can be harmful. Secondly, he says that we as human beings, and being under the underlying kindness within us, do not allow us to to cheat the person who is actually sharing his boring talks with us. So he says that just like my friend who can stoop, who can lower down himself to cheat or to use dishonest behaviors, dishonest devices to rescue himself, to run away from a bored person, but even his friend would not make that bored person feel sad, okay, and he would not always anyway let the boring person feel avoided or ignored. He cannot see grief on the satisfied face, that candid, that simple, innocent face of the boring person, the bore, who is present there to enforce all his talks, boring talks upon him. But despite being bored by his talks, his friend cannot actually afford to make that bore feel sad or ignored. For it is one of the bore's greatest assets that he has a simplicity that disarms. Now, why is it not possible for a normal human being or an individual to make a bore realize that he is actually making the other person feel boring or inflicting himself upon him? Because these bores have a kind of simplicity attached to them which disarms the listeners or the audience. So the listeners or the audience cannot afford to be violent or aggressive against these bores. Why? Because of the simplicity of the bores. Astute, crafty men are seldom bores. Astute means intelligent. Wise, intelligent and tricky people are rarely bores. And next he says, very busy men are seldom bores. And on very few occasions will you find a busy person who is also a bore. Why? Because to be a bore, to share your talks, you need to have ample of time. And when a person is busy with other jobs or other tasks, he is unable to spare time to bore people with his experiences. So in this particular unit, in unit 2, Lucas has enlisted a few tactics as how we can rescue ourselves or run away from the bores. But at the same time, he has also mentioned that it is not so easy to befool a bore or to make the bores feel avoided or ignored or make them feel sad. Why? Because human beings are kind. Their basic nature is of being kind towards others. So when they are kind towards others, they cannot afford to make them feel sad or ignored or hurt them. So it is not that easy to run away from the bores by being very outspoken or trying out certain devices. So it is not that easy. So here what he has stated is that the bores are happy, always happy, because they are successful in getting a patient listener or an audience. And it is possible for them to get an audience or a listener every time because of the kindness of human nature. He says that it is not easy or possible for every person to be outspoken and outrightly say to a bore that you are boring me, so just go away from here. It is not possible, and always it is not possible for ourselves to adopt certain devices and run away from the clutches of the bores. Why? Because due to the human kindness of our nature, it is not possible for us to make the bores feel neglected or ignored on every occasion when they are there to make us feel tired and bored by their talks and their experiences. So that's all for the explanation of Unit 2 of the essay Bores by E.V. Lucas. Thank you.